But in the midst of all of this, the victims of the Bhopal gas tragedy finally seem to have at least a glimmer of hope. India may still lay its hands on the main accused in this disaster, Warren Anderson. The US State Department has told headlines today that Washington may consider handing over Anderson in case New Delhi seeks an extradition, in case a formal request is put with the US authorities. Before that, though, India will have to make a watertight case against the former Union Carbide chairman.
We have an extradition treaty with India, and if India makes an extradition request of us, we will give it fair consideration.
America claims it is ready for a rethink on extraditing Warren Anderson. That's right, the US in a major turnaround has announced that it would consider if India makes a fresh extradition request. But the statement probably comes after international pressure following the Bhopal verdict. India first requested for Anderson's extradition in 2003. The US turned down this request in 2004. The Ministry of External Affairs repeatedly renewed India's request over the years. The last request was made in September 2008, only to be turned down once again by the US. Each plea was turned down by the US on the grounds that the evidence provided was not substantial to prove his involvement and extradite him. The US renewed declaration is also couched in the same shrouds of doubt. It was cautious in its approach, reiterating that such matters were confidential.
If the government of India makes such a request of us, we will carefully evaluate it. Our lawyers here have pounded into me that all extradition requests are confidential.
The US change of stand follows a major furor in India over Anderson's escape after the verdict. The 89-year-old Anderson has been leading a luxurious life of retirement in the posh Bridgehampton locality in Long Island, New York. But Washington, shortly after the court judgment, ruled out any further review of the investigation into the industrial disaster, further ruling out scope for extradition of Anderson.
We hope that this verdict today helps to bring some closure to the victims and their families. But I don't expect this verdict to reopen any new inquiries or anything like that.
But there were differing voices within the US. US Congressman Frank Pallone strongly supported the case for Anderson's extradition.
Warren Anderson absolutely deserves to be extradited from the US and punished for the full extent of his crimes. As chairman of Union Carbide at the time of the Bhopal gas disaster, Anderson was ultimately responsible for his company's actions.
Stung by allegations of helping Anderson escape, the Congress certainly seems keen to pursue his case.
Case is not closed on Anderson. And the government had done its duty, but ultimately the judiciary, not only because of the judiciary it was delayed.
But experts feel that there isn't much hope as far as Anderson's extradition is concerned.
The procedures are such that you will have to establish the culpability of the American principals of Union Carbide India. Now, we could not establish that culpability in the 1980s and 1990s when the case was in the courts.
Under pressure from the growing outcry against injustice both in India and within its own soil, the US has now said that it is willing to consider extraditing Warren Anderson to stand trial in India. This of course comes with the caveat that India will first have to make a strong case for the same. But going by the earlier subversions of all legal and ethical procedure, it might just be another long wait before Warren Anderson comes face to face with the victims of his actions, if at all he does. With Tejinder Khanna in Washington, Paul Saha in New Delhi for Headlines Today.